I would like to call the meeting to order of the UDC. It's 6:30 on August 12, 2015. First, we need to start with the roll call.
Mr. Sawhill,
Here.
Ms. Sullivan,
Here.
Ms. Emerton. Here. Ms. Rehm.
Here.
Ms. Condon, Mr. Condon,
Here.
Mr. Leonetti,
Here.
Mr. Miller,
Here.
and Mr. Winchester is excused.
Okay, we would like to announce that we have a quorum this evening. Next in the agenda, we have the minutes. Can we have a motion to approve the minutes? The meeting minutes? We have a motion for approval by Nicole Ram and a second by Commissioner Monica Emerton. Are there any objections? Okay, next we're moving to disclosures. Do we have any disclosures tonight? No. Next, we move fast into the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda? We have a motion by Commissioner Joel Condon and a second by Commissioner Nicole Ram. Okay. I'm going back to special order and item number 2. We have information item, Northern Access to UMed District. If there's any discussion? Okay.
Madam Chair, I was just informed that this is an informational item, just to let you know that this Northern Access is in process. It might be a little premature. The UMed plan is going forward to the Commission on October 5th. The UMed access was under review, but it will be delayed until the UMed plan is actually approved. The UMed plan was postponed because the University Area Community Council wanted to have an opportunity to provide comments on the UMed plan itself. So I spoke with Ms. Ferguson of staff, and she mentioned this was a little bit premature, but it was just to inform the Commission that this is in progress and the access will be coming forward, but there is not an established date that it will be coming forward to you, the Commission, to review that access.
Okay, thank you very much. So we were in the consent agenda. We have resolution 2015-013. Can we get a motion for approval? We have a motion from Joel Condon, and we have a second by Commissioner Nicole Ram. We move on with the regular agenda, and we have case 2015-0067, context-sensitive solutions transportation project site plan review for Academy Drive, Vanguard Drive area traffic circulation improvements. Do we have a staff report?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The design study report has been reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission. They attached no conditions to the design study report other than to approve it, subject to the submittals that were reviewed during that public hearing. This is the plans in hand, and it's basically being done in conjunction with the State of Alaska project to extend 92nd Avenue East under the Seward Highway, which will eventually connect to Academy Drive. The intent of this is to provide an alternate connection to relieve congestion on Diamond Boulevard. The intent is to improve the area connectivity, to improve the project area, traffic capacity, and to reduce the demand on Diamond Boulevard, and also to improve pedestrian facilities. Currently, there are no pedestrian or bicycle facilities on Academy Drive. The project does conform to Anchorage 2020 Comprehensive Plan, Policy 37 and Policy 38, which both deal with design and construct and maintain roadways or rights-of-way, and to provide physical connectivity within and between neighborhoods. It is also identified as a short-term project on the 2035 Metropolitan Area Transportation Plan. The official streets and highways plan already classify Academy Drive and Vanguard Drive as minor arterials. The roadways are intended to be upgraded to minor arterials with both bicycle and pedestrian facilities. The Anchorage pedestrian plan, it conforms to that, as pedestrian and bicycle facilities will be provided with the road upgrade. The total budget is $7.3 million. The landscape budget is $268,870, and the plant materials comprise $62,000 of that budget. The cross-section includes two 11-foot lanes with 3.5-foot shoulders. The shoulders will function as well for the bike lanes. There will be type 1 barrier, curb, and gutter, and an 8-foot pathway is proposed on the north side and a 5-foot sidewalk on the south side of the roadway with a 7-foot separation buffer from the travel lanes. The plant materials consist of paper birch, maple, and Canada red deciduous trees, as well as shrubs and perennials, as well as a seed mix for a lawn. The division does recommend approval, subject to conditions 1 through 9 on pages 6 and 7 of the packet. Thank you.
Do we have any questions for staff? I guess the petitioner is here. Can you come forward, please? Will you state your name and spell it for the record?
Good evening. My name is Mark Kimmer. I'm the project landscape architect. I'm with Bettisworth North Architects and Planners. Thanks for your time tonight. This, as you heard from staff, is an important project extending 92nd Avenue from the west side of the New Seward over to the east side and connecting with Abbott Road. It's got a lot of positive energy behind it, and everyone I've spoken to about the project really sees it as a great relief to the traffic at Diamond and the highway, kind of right in that area that we all have tried to make it through around Christmas time and had issues. So we're very excited about the project. There is quite a history with the project. Some alternate alignments have been explored. I have Erica Jensen, the project engineer with CRW, here to maybe answer some of the questions about the project history, some of those other alignments, if there are any. we'd be happy to answer those questions too. I think what I would like to address is the department recommendations and the landscaping. You heard a little bit about the cross-section. I would like to note that the pathways on both sides of the alignment are 8 feet wide. There was a mention of 5 feet wide on the south side, so they are both 8 feet wide currently. The landscaping for the project, in addition to the bike facilities, the bike lanes that are on the road, we're doing our best to look for locations for new landscaping that will kind of enhance the experience of the pedestrians. I'd like to note that the sidewalks where we had extra right-of-way, extra space, we tried to break those away from the back of the curb and get separated sidewalk. And in those areas, those areas afforded locations for some landscaping. So what we did was provided kind of a street tree effect along the alignment with pockets of plantings next to the sidewalk where it pulls away from the back of curb. We've included concrete edging, trying to get something a little more substantial in there that's going to remain over time and not get overgrown, really trying to make this more of an urban feel because we do feel like it'll be an important connection in that part of town. We also have some bigger landscape pockets over next to Abbott, where we felt like we could really get some mass of plantings there. There were some existing trees and shrubs as well, or trees rather, on the northwest corner of Abbott and the alignment. There were actually lots of existing trees in the area. We've indicated on the plans that they're to be protected by construction fence, what we call the tree protection zone. We're now including language in our specifications specific to how to save trees, the process that we go through prior to construction to determine what the tree protection zone is. So those are some, what I would call newer features to how we're trying to keep what's there already and also bolster it with additional landscape. Across Abbott, there was some right-of-way or some take from the GCI building there, so we are going to redo their landscaping as well, using some of their existing trees and boulders, and then we actually match the mulch of the beds there and get perimeter parking lot landscaping for their parking lot. On the opposite end of the alignment, the west end, there's a church whose parking lot is being affected by the right-of-way take. The parking lot is being reconstructed, and perimeter parking lot landscaping has been included in beds for that as well. I think maybe some of the bigger picture stuff that you might be curious about is right-of-way take. I'm just going to grab my map real quick and set it up here and just show you guys where that is. Can you guys see that okay? So Abbott Road here. Here's the church I just mentioned, whose parking lot is going to be reconstructed with landscaping. The landscape along the separated pathways where we can get that space. Let's see, where was I? The GCI building over here, and then some of the properties that are getting right-of-way taken from is this one here. It's kind of an auto mechanic yard. There's 2 buildings actually in this parcel that will be totally demolished, and then just a little corner here of the church. The recommendations by staff noted that coordination with MOA Transit needed to take place, and through circumstance, we actually didn't receive Transit's 35% comments on the project. So once we received the staff report last Friday, we got a little excited and got a hold of Randy Burt at MOA Transit and had a discussion with him over the last couple of days. He did provide us with his 35% comments on the project, and sure enough, there were transit stops that needed to be a part of the project. And I've marked those in red here, one on the westbound coming this way, or actually two, I'm sorry, at two different locations, here closer to Abbott and here closer to Vanguard. We have one going in the opposite direction here, just past Vanguard. Now, an optional location for that one would be on the west side of Vanguard. But as we go from the current point that this project is in, which is 65%, that's all we're funded to right now. We will continue liaison with transit and make sure that the facilities are appropriate to the ridership. In other words, whether it's a pad, landing pad, light, signs, benches, or if it's a simple stop with just a landing pad, accessible landing pad, a light, which I would love to see, and signage. So those will be part of the project, and it was, if we'd known about that, we would have included it already. So I will go to the division recommendations on page 6. I'd like to go through these one by one, resolve the locations of bus stop facilities on the new roadway. So I feel like we're meeting that. Unfortunately, you're just seeing that information tonight for the first time, and in a sense, we are almost as well. Add a detailed lighting site plan, delineating where lighting fixtures will occur. I passed out some 11 by 17s. That's the illumination plan for the project. But those light locations were actually shown in our packet on the signing and striping plans that were provided, but the lights weren't really called out appropriately, so they could easily be overlooked if you didn't know what you were looking for. Add a paragraph explaining how bicycle and pedestrian improvements in the site plan work to complete the bicycle and pedestrian networks proposed in the bike plan and Anchorage pedestrian plan. We had included those in the staff report notes those on the previous page. I'm just trying to find that real quick. On page 2 and 3 of the staff report, it mentions how it meets the Anchorage pedestrian plan vision, the bicycle plan, and the trails plan. Reference the latest addition to the official streets and highways plan. We have no problem with that. Delineate how the bike lane will transition to the shared use path along Academy Drive, considering putting a shared bike marking on the road where right-of-way width does not allow a bike lane. The transition of the bike lane onto the shared use path can potentially cause conflicts between bicyclists and pedestrians, so clear delineation of how the cyclist gets to and off the path is helpful. There's been a lot of activity in town lately with bike boulevards. There was a training session. CRW is actually leading some projects associated with that. So we got an image here that I'd like to show you of what some of those signing and striping patterns might be like. So I don't know how familiar the commissioners are with the plans, but we do have bike lanes, and at intersections, the bike lane ends, or when it comes up to Abbott, it also ends. So I think the issue was in some of those locations, it wasn't at 65% entirely clear how we were going to handle those transitions from bike lane onto the multi-use path. And were there going to be potential conflicts between pedestrians and bikes when that happens, going at different speeds? You don't know what's going to happen there. So they will be striped, of course, and when they get to a transition point, there's a skip line, which is essentially the bike lane line ends and becomes a dash, kind of indicating to the cyclist that there's a change coming. And then we actually have a connection to the multi-use path that will bring the cyclist on, and there will be signing and striping that will indicate that. So bike lane, begin right turn, yield to bikes, that kind of thing. So that's the kind of signage and striping we'd like to include, or that we envision being provided as a part of the project. It wasn't really clear, and I can show you an example of what I think the closest to Abbott on the north side. Let's see, I should give you a station number at about 227, basically just on the west side of the Abbott intersection. You can see just near that planting bed, there is one of those basically approaches from the bike lane onto the multi-use path. So those weren't shown on the other connections back at Vanguard, where it breaks. So we will include those. And getting back to my recommendations, clarify where the bicyclist is coming from to merge onto the bike lane at station 227. So that one to us was they could be coming from pretty much any direction, but the intent, I think maybe the confusing part was that little spur that connected with the road to put the cyclist onto Abbott instead of the multi-use path. The refuge meeting at station 509 appears to jut out. We discussed this, and that'll be fixed during the next iteration of plans. I think we agreed it did jut out just a little bit, so we took note of it. Number 8, Anchorage Water and Wastewater Utility requests that AWU Planning Department be involved in the upcoming design review. We're fine with that. Consider striping the crosswalks on Hartzell Road, Station 226, and at the crosswalk at Vanguard. We actually included that in our plans already. Some things happen since the application goes in. And you can see there the black striping at those locations. So that's the department recommendations. In our presentation. I don't know if you have anything you want to add, Erica. We would be happy to answer any questions you'll have now.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for the petitioner? Commissioner Nicole Rem.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I am actually working on the bike plan project, so I'm wholly familiar with the iterations that are going around with how to handle the markings. So at the location where it shows, I think it's 225, and I'm looking at the striping sheet 1, where bike lane ends, and we go into a shared facility, or we can go to the multi-use pathway. I'm seeing a hatch mark that looks like, and this is the term we've been using, escape ramp.
Is this on the signage and striping
S1,
plan?
yeah.
Thank you.
S1, sorry.
Got it.
So there's the bike lane, and then, bike lane ends because the road narrows up there. But instead of just diverting the bike to the pathway via the driveway intersection, we've got an escape ramp. It just seems awkward. Have you considered coming across the driveway instead?
Oh, so extending it across to the let me make sure I'm at the right location. Near 225, or did you say 227?
Near 225.
Okay, so right here.
Is that an escape ramp?
That's the on-ramp,
You mean to the multi-use path?
correct, from the bike lane.
Sorry, the definition of an escape ramp is to escape the traffic way and go onto a multi-use pathway.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay. So have you considered, instead of you doing that, we, in our various meetings with the traffic department, both MOA and DOT, they wanted us to consider using existing driveways and not put in escape ramps or on-ramps.
We did consider it, and I met with the project team who was working on AMATs in CRW.
Excuse me, can you please just state your name for the record?
Yes, sorry, I am Erica Jensen with CRW. And I spoke with the design team, and based on the way the road is curving and the route of the bicyclists themselves, we thought an escape ramp would be better appropriate instead of using the curb ramp at the driveway.
Okay. And based on that curvature, it does look a little steep, but it depends. I guess they have to slow down. Okay. And then another thing I know that MOA traffic has been going to is from the 3.5-foot bike lane to 4-foot. I see where you're right on the right-of-way, but did you get any pushback from traffic on the 3.5-foot bike lane for this section? Because it's probably going to be pretty busy.
No, we didn't get any pushback. They
Okay.
approved or blessed the typical section in terms of 3.5 foot.
Excellent. Just 1 second. I need to see if I have. And have you talked to traffic? I know that there's a note in here and consider using a shared bike marking. I know that shared bike markings are considered in a maintenance issue. So I don't know if you were planning to do that for your project.
We're planning on using just the bike lane markings, not any additional.
And signage?
Yes.
That just says share the road, right? Like
We
you've
have-
shown right there, I think. When your bike lane ends.
Right, just at the intersections.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Or where the bike lane ends and the share the road begins.
All of our project has a bike lane.
Okay, because you're assuming the 92nd will be complete and we'll have a bike lane?
We're anticipating this project to be complete about 1 year before ADOT's project,
Okay.
just so that they don't dump all of the traffic onto that T intersection. But yes, we are coordinating with them, and I am assuming they have a bike lane. If they don't, then we would have to have a sign installed that says share the road.
Right.
Yes,
Because you're not doing anything west of the church, so,
correct.
okay. And then I see that you're using Schedule A seed mix. Is that a mowable mix? Is there maintenance concerns with that? Have you heard anything from streets?
It's not a bad thought. We know, the maintenance in town is taken care of by Parks and Rec generally. So we would definitely entertain a non-mow mix in this setting. We thought a mow mix was more appropriate just because of the neighborhood feel. It's a little more urban, in my opinion, anyway. So that's why we had selected A.
I only ask that because we have grass in a small area on a project I worked on that's about 3 feet tall right now, and I wish I'd used a non-mow mix. Because if there's no maintenance, it could be.
I think in this setting, there's some big areas left by the right-of-way take. We could definitely consider having a no-mow mix, off the backside of the walks, but keeping the spaces maybe adjacent to the walks and in the pockets by the separated sidewalk as a mowable mix.
Okay, that's it. I just really had some questions about the thought process on the bike lane. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Joel Condon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just was wondering, we've got condition 7 here. You've got, this median that juts into the crosswalk. I know you're going to work on that. I was wondering if we look at stations 224 and 223, well, we've got a median that comes along what I guess is Vanguard now, but which will be Academy. That median stops at station 224. What's the reasoning that it stops there and doesn't extend down to, say, 223?
So it's right there.
There's a dedicated left turn lane, so we ended the median in order to accommodate the left turn lane from,
Onto Vanguard.
correct.
Got it. Okay, that's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Joe. Commissioner Ed?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hello, Mr. Kammer and Ms.
Jensen.
Jensen, thank you. Thanks for coming out tonight, and nice presentation. And the drawing set is good. I was curious about some things that were missing, like a grading plan and that sort of thing. Have you guys started a grading plan, or is there, the main reason is for the existing vegetation to remain, and what the cut slopes are going to be around those, and the drip lines and...
Sure. The area is generally flat. There was actually some discussion and comments from the agencies about, green infrastructure. Should we keep stormwater on site? I believe the answer to that was that there was already a storm drain in the area, and it was thought to be better to attach to it. So there isn't much relief, much change in the elevations in the landscape. I think Erica has probably done a grading plan for the project, for the street, but we did not include any mounding or anything like that in the landscape.
Okay. And the cuts at the existing vegetation is within reason, and there isn't any reason to believe that would be a big difference in the existing veg and the new?
No. Actually, and I brought up the tree protection zone. The idea is that we're out past the drip edge. I think it's a foot for every inch of diameter in the tree. And then we establish a construction fence. So the spec is I think pretty tight in the fact that it's pretty descriptive on what you can and can't do. So in my mind, the trees that are to remain are much better protected now. We're still struggling a little when construction comes around, and if the contractor actually calls us out to have that initial meeting, which is in the specifications. The plan is we meet with them. They actually have an arborist hired that comes out and makes a judgment call on the trees. Okay, if we put a tree protection zone here, is this tree in good enough shape to save number one? And if we do work around it, what are the chances of it surviving? And that's kind of a dynamic situation. Some trees may not do well, even though we've staked out the protection zone. And in that case, we would just make an on-site call, whether to remove it now or see what happens with it.
Okay, and do you have criteria in the spec that talks about for every existing tree planned to remain and ends up being removed is replaced by X, Y, and Z?
I can't remember exactly if that's in there. I know that's a goal of it, but I can't remember if it's exactly in the specs like that.
Okay. That would be good if that could be there.
Sure.
Because I know that a lot of times the contractors go out there and it's like, oh, it's easy just to cut this tree down if I don't have to do anything, All I have to do is
Been there.
feed it.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Let's stay on plant material for a minute. The Deborah's, are there Deborah maples in the area?
We did Deborah's on 9th Avenue downtown, and we did them at the 3-inch size, and they seem to be doing great.
Yeah.
You would say marginal, okay.
Well, just this, but I've planted them in other parts of town as well, and they're kind of hit and miss, and there have been other projects that I've questioned the same thing, and it's been, charged forward, but I was curious if the GCI lot had them, or if...
No, they didn't. They have Canada Reds and some pine and spruce and stuff in there. One of the biggest reasons I picked that tree was that we had success with it on 9th. But also some of the tree plantings are in the site distance triangle. If if we took everything out of the sight distance triangles, then we would have had a pretty bare landscape. So I knew that we could get 3-inch debras and get that, they have more of a vase-shaped branching pattern, and basically not create, have something that has a canopy that's above 8 feet. That's what I was shooting for with that idea.
Okay, cool. And then, okay, that's good on the plant material. And it just kind of Ms. Jensen, on the Hartzell Road, the dual intersections, I get it that, there's the right, you have turning movements, you go onto it, I guess it would be northbound. And did you guys, it just seems kind of like a lot of intersections, and then it seems like you're going to go up and down with the pedestrians. Was there a reason that you didn't gang it together and have just one intersection?
You're referring to the pork chop type island? Yeah. The technical term, pork chop.
Yeah.
Yes, if we had made one giant intersection, the very edges of that intersection are required for returning movements. So if I were to remove the pork chop island, the pedestrians would still have to cross that same distance.
Oh.
So I wanted to provide them with refuge, because the fire truck turning movement is what requires that one on the farthest northeast, I guess, or the right, dictating the huge expanse of pavement that would be required.
And then you didn't want to move the southbound up north?
No, because that one, there's driveways that are right there.
Okay. Cool. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ed Nuneri. Commissioner Joe Miller.
Yes, thank you. Just a couple of questions. The submittal that we have seems to be lacking a lot of the detailed sheets that you would normally have. So Ed mentioned the grading plan, demo, I was thinking demo plan, drainage plan. I'm just wondering why those were not included.
We've prepared quite a few of the applications for context-sensitive projects, and we try to get the package as informative as necessary, but we do try to keep it limited to what we think, anyway, is needed for the commissioners to review the project. In other words, those packages can get incredibly large. We've asked that question before of planning staff, and now the process they're going through or having us go through is we actually submit the application, just one copy instead of 30. I think it's 30 or 33 copies that you ultimately take down to the city. But what they do now is take one and they review it for completeness. And in this case, we had a letter just asking for a letter of authorization for the project and a code choice form. So in other words, that we preferred new Title 21 versus old Title 21. So I guess I may sound like I'm making an excuse. We didn't include it because we didn't want to make the package, bigger than it needed to be. We're happy to provide that information, but we do depend on staff to kind of tell us if we're missing something. It certainly wasn't intentional to take it out, but in some cases, maybe to other disciplines, you may just swipe right past a lot of that and get to the stuff that the alignment, the landscaping, that kind of thing.
Right. It's just, for me, it was kind of hard to get my head wrapped around the project and get a perspective of everything that was going on,
Sure.
what's there now, what's being removed.
We do have an aerial that's a little old on the other side of this that, we can show you a little bit more of that so you guys have a comfort level for it.
Well, I looked at aerials for it, so
Okay.
kind of got myself familiar with it. What I was concerned about was the drainage plan,
Okay.
and that leads to my next question. And someone asked to consider green infrastructure, and there, there's some storm drains there that you decided to connect to. So I understand the convenience of that, But was there any other reason not to consider green infrastructure?
There was. The reason that we decided not to install it is the location that is ideal for it in terms of where the acquired right-of-way is being purchased is at the crest of a hill, so it wouldn't get much infiltration or even runoff from any of the surrounding areas. And as it flows down, that's where we lose the space for the green infrastructure. The existing plan that was done for the area included drainage for this, so we know that the system we're tying into can handle it. And combined with that, with the space available is at the top of the hill, we thought green infrastructure was not the best use of maintenance and additional dollars for this.
So and this is where the grading would be handy to.
Right. This is exactly where it would be helpful, yes.
Yeah, so what is the relief on the project to,
The relief on the
max
project
and mins?
is right at the current and future intersection of Academy and Vanguard. That is the high spot for the project,
Okay,
right in there, which is where our space is available. It's very shallow grades where it goes up at like 3% and then down at 2%. But that is the crest of the hill is right.
and there was
Where we have
no
this.
right-of-way acquisition down at the lower ends or at the lower elevations?
There's right-of-way acquisition down there, but that has an existing functioning storm drain system in Hartsel, which handles all the water from that area. So we actually would not be putting any water into that one either, because there's an existing functioning dry wells, I believe.
Okay, so I assume that, the drainage modeling has all been done and
Yes,
capacities are.
yes, the capacities, yes, it has all been completed and checked, and it is sufficient.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ed Leonetti?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Two more questions. One, I agree with Ms. Ream on the comment on the no-mo mix. I think that's a reasonable thing to do with the vast area that's out there. I also, I understand that the design concept that the neighbors mow their lawn, they also play soccer on it. I think that if you do mow it here, you'll end up with kids playing soccer on it, if that's desirable or not. But I was also curious about on that note, the total landscape budget is $268,000 about, and the plant material budget is $62,000 about. So I interpret plant material as woody plants,
Yeah.
trees and shrubs. So
But-
what is the other $200,000 for?
It's mulch, edging, topsoil seed. Topsoil is so expensive now.
That was my next comment. One of the most expensive things is one of the largest areas out there. So maybe
Yeah.
there's an opportunity for some planting areas in the mow area. I don't want to design
Sure.
it for you guys, but it's obviously there was a thought process that was like, okay, we're not going to put plants there because of X, Y, and Z. So that's what I'm kind of.
The only comment to that effect I heard was just hiding places. And I think down around the corner, it would be on the very east side of New Seward, where the loop to go north off of Diamond is. There's camping and stuff like that goes on there. That was the only reasoning I heard not to do that.
Okay. And the traffic volume is, okay, so the 200,000 is going to residual things that maybe there will be some extra, maybe not. But there aren't any sound walls or anything of that nature as it goes further west, right?
Yep,
That
correct.
will get picked up once it gets closer to the New Seward and further down. The
Oh,
traffic-
for sound attenuation of some sort?
Yeah.
I have not heard of any suggestions of that. And I'm not that familiar with those other projects, other than I've seen them in plan view.
Okay, cool, great, thank you.
Any additional questions? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve?
We
We have a motion to approve by Monica Emerton. And a second by Nicole Rem. Commissioner Emerton, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yeah, I'll state my motion. So I would like to move to approve case 2015-0067, subject to staff conditions 1 through 9 on page 6 and 7.
Anything you would like to add, Commissioner Nicole?
Yeah,
Do you want to speak to your motion?
speak my motion now. So I think the project looks well funded. It looks like it's really going to improve the area. It's very exciting. And I also find that it complies with the Anchorage 2020 Comprehensive Plan, Policy 37, Policy 38, the 2035 Metropolitan Transportation Plan, as well as the 2005 Official Streets and Highways Plan, and the Anchorage Pedestrian Plan 2007, the Bicycle Plan 2010, and the Area-Wide Trails Plan from 1997.
Okay, and I guess Nicole has nothing to add, or?
I do.
Okay.
I would like to move to amend conditions 1 through 9. Is that all I can say right now? Or do I say what I need to do? Okay. So I'd like to amend division recommendation number 1 to say continue design and locations of bus stop facilities along the new roadway with Municipal Public Transportation Department. I would like to delete condition number 2 because they have provided a lighting plan. I would like to delete condition number 3 because it is in fact in their application that they are meeting the bicycle and pedestrian improvements from the plans. And I would like to combine conditions 5 and 9. So condition 5 would be replaced and condition 9 would be deleted. So condition 5 would say, work with traffic department to determine appropriate signing, marking, and signage for bike facilities. That's it.
Can you repeat, please, the number 5?
Work with the traffic department to determine appropriate signing, marking, and signage for bike facilities and pedestrian facilities. Can we add that? I'm sorry, I just realized I should probably say for bike and pedestrian facilities.
Okay. Okay, can I get a motion to amend the original motion? I have a motion by Nicole Rem and a second by Jim Sohel. So we're moving back to the original motion. We got to vote.
I'd like to speak to this before we vote, Madam Chair.
Oh, sorry. Can you speak, please?
Sure. I went ahead and seconded to get this on the floor. I've got no problem with your changing 1. I do have a problem with deleting 2. I'm not a big fan of plans pasted on the table the night of the meeting, getting you off the hook. I don't remember seeing. Was there lighting plans in there? Yeah, well, I think I would go back to Mr. Miller's statement that I think the detail in this application was a little lacking, and maybe they should submit more information next time. I got no problem with deleting 3. I got no problem with your new 5. So I guess when you go for the gusto on an amendment, and so I'm going to make a motion to amend the amendment to add back in condition number 2. We don't have to vote because I
Yes,
made an
no.
amendment, your amendment, if I get a second.
Okay,
I'll second.
But since the machine's locked up on voting, I don't know how we do this.
let me see if I can reset. No. So I guess, can we get a motion to amend the motion?
Yes. I move to amend the motion to amend to add back in condition number 2.
Okay, I have a motion to amend the amend motion and by Commissioner Jim, and then a second by Commissioner Ed.
Now we can vote on that one.
Yeah. Now we get the vote. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Shoot. Okay, now the motion has passed. Now we get a motion.
Now we're back to the amendment.
Yeah, we're back to I need a motion to the,
I intend to support the amendment as it now sits.
and can we get a second?
We already have it. We're
Okay.
good.
I'm lost now.
We can vote.
Okay, now we can vote for the,
No, on the amendment.
yeah. Okay, the motion has passed.
Don't mess with me on procedure.
Now we go back to the original motion, and it will be, we move with approval recommendations 1, 2, we delete 3, 4, we
New 5.
will change 5. We will combine 5 and 9 to work with traffic department to determine the signage marking and signage for biking and pedestrian facilities.
6, 7, 8.
And then 6, 7, 8. So can we start voting? Okay, the motion has passed. Now, do we have any reports?
No, Madam Chair.
I have a question. There's been some studies in regards to the Title 21 design standards, and I don't know if it will be good that at some point we get an update on what's the results.
Madam Chair, I believe that, some of the design standards that are being looked at are for multifamily housing. I think that is the one that is receiving the most comments, that section of the code. And I believe that the land use plan map is also nearing finalization. A presentation was made to the Planning and Zoning Commission, And my question then would be, in addition to an update on the changes to Title 21, would the commission be interested in the update, to include the update on the land use plan map as well? Would that be of interest, or is it just the design aspects of the changes to Title 21?
No, I think if we include both, would be great.
Okay, I would have to, I'll have to relay that message to Erica. I do know that the next big issue that's coming forward for public hearing is the marijuana ordinance. That's a hot topic. I know, but that is consuming a majority of her time right now.
Wow, okay. Well, thank you very much. So, can we get a motion to adjourn the meeting? I don't know. Okay, the meeting is done.